Hello and welcome. So glad to be able to connect even virtually. And one of the things that I wanted to reiterate, which I do almost every time, is that the purpose of our work is to reveal essence. And the way that we move from where we are into essence is through moving through fear into presence. And presence, in my experience, is the same thing as love. So if I'm willing to be in the same space with something else, and including something inside of me, that's love. And so I wonder if you would be willing to have your attention, the way that you use your attention, be a source of love, a source of being with yourself and others. And I was celebrating again today how the loop of awareness is so simple and yet so profound, because I've been practicing loop of awareness for decades, and I keep enjoying just more ease with my loop of awareness and more of an experience of space. And that was the word that was coming to me today, was space, and how we can move from urgency into a sense of space. So I want to invite you to start with giving your attention inside you. I'd like you to do a little body scan. And I don't know if you do that by just noticing what comes up, or you do it systematically by sort of going down your body and checking different aspects of you. But what I'd like you to be noticing is where you're experiencing a sense of spaciousness inside and where you're experiencing density. Because usually when people give attention to themselves, in my experience, they're looking for what's wrong. And usually what's wrong is something that's painful. And in my experience, the what's wrong, the painful, comes after we've neglected to look at and to experience density and space. So here's one place where you can start. So across your shoulders and your upper back, where are you experiencing space and where are you experiencing density? And here's what I want to invite you to do. I want to invite you to let your breath move between where you feel density and where you feel space, just in your shoulders. So we think of breath, it's just got to be this really big thing, but it could be just simply expanding just a little bit so that your breath is moving from where you feel spacious to include where you're feeling dense. I was also seeing the image again of the jellyfish, which I've sometimes used in our practice, because the jellyfish goes from accelerating to go someplace and expanding to feel space. So imagine if you could, just in your shoulders there, do a little jellyfish move of letting your attention and your breath just gently expand wherever you're feeling denser or tighter or more rah. In fact, you could let your sound accompany your attention. So you could make a sound that matches the density. So for me, over the last couple of days, because I just got a booster shot, it was more like that would be the sound that I would make. So what's the sound of your density? And then you can move in, what's the sound of spaciousness? So for me, it's kind of a ah, ah. So letting yourself move and breathe and sound, all guided by your attention. Yeah, beautiful. And then you could move toward another area in your body. It usually, I experience more density in my back. Okay, I think because I don't pay as much attention to it because it's not on the front of me. So if you got the stuff that's behind you, in the back of you, just notice if there's any place in your spine and down your back where you're experiencing more. So for me in my back, the sound would be a little more like a, it has a little fightiness to it. And the spacious area feels more like a boom, boom, boom. And so I'm now experiencing my breath going this direction in the vertical and back and forth rather than just wide. So I want to invite you with your back now to play with giving attention to going between where it feels dense and where it feels spacious, and letting yourself jellyfish between those. And making sounds between those. And what I'm also noticing, excuse me, what I'm also noticing is that the rest of my body wants to get into the act. So this is where you can now start bringing in more movement. And I was feeling that my body wants to stand now. And if you want to stand or lie down, just keep noticing when you're letting your attention move between where it feels dense and where it feels spacious. For me, that starts moving into some of the fear melters kind of automatically. I get some oozing going. And you can also, as a jellyfish in the big love ocean, you can reach out and bring in some energy, and you could apply that energy to the dense places in you. Like for me, it's often just below my waist, just at the top of my pelvis, where I can get kind of, and I remember my parents telling me I was very stubborn as a child. I didn't like anybody telling me what to do. And I think that's my stubborn place. It's sort of a sumo taken to the extreme. So if you've got one of those places in you, see if with your breath and your own expansion, your own jellyfish expansion, you can bring some more circulation in there. So for me, this is starting to feel really sweet. I'm starting to get some goosebumps. I'm starting to feel some nice tingling along my body. So notice for you the signs of aliveness, increased aliveness. Now, what I'm inclined to do is to share that, because I've got plenty now. I've filled up my own reservoir. And so I'd like you to let your jellyfish now expand out energetically, so that energetically you fill the room that you're in, and then you come back home to you. You can come back home to you with a love scoop, or you can come back to you with giving yourself attention. You can come back to you with sounds. So expanding out and then coming back home again, so that you can really feel that you can stay attached to your attention, even though you're letting it expand out. So attention is an infinite fountain, and you can keep expanding it and sending it different places. And now let it expand out beyond you. So I'm letting mine expand out to the student runners across the street. They were doing their morning run. So I'm just acknowledging and letting myself be in the same space with them for a moment. Oh, yes, here you are, and here I am, and then back home again. So that it's almost as if you have a kite string, and you're letting the kite string be very clearly located in you, and you're letting that then expand to have adventures and come back home again. In one of our practices we have something that we call the conscious heart process, which is basically exploring, and coming back home again. And that's one thing that I love about loop of awareness is that I explore and then I get to come back home again. So let one hand be here or on your belly, your heart or on your belly, just to remind you of home base. And let your other hand do some exploring out in the world. You can even let your hand indicate going out to people who you can't even see right now and allowing your energy to touch and appreciate them. And then back home again. So that you can give plenty of attention and still have plenty for you. I think that's pretty cool. That we think of attention as limited, and if I give it to somebody else, there's going to be less for me. What I want you to experiment with is as you let your attention really circulate, there's more and more. There's plenty for you, and there's plenty for others. And I really experienced this for those of you who have any kind of background in the Bible. This is for me the loaves and fishes. That if I am really enjoying attention and enjoying presence, it multiplies. And that if I be sure to include me, then there's plenty. So let yourself experiment with how much love and presence do I want right now? And let your body tell you, oh, you forgot me. You forgot, like the backs of, when I said that, the backs of my calves said, hey, don't forget me. So what we call the gastrocnemius muscle was going, hey, I want some attention. And so I'm actually going to put my hand down. Oh yeah, and it can feel like, especially on the outer part of my leg is a little denser. So I'm going to let the inside of my leg, where I feel spacious, circulate space into the outside of my leg. So you can do big experiments and little experiments, but the basic quality is of there's plenty. And if I let myself be with, I'm creating presence and connection, which is the felt experience of love. And I would also invite you to let that jellyfish of inclusion go out into the world as big as you want, and then coming back home to you. I was, for some reason, just seeing the image of that I saw going by in the last day or two of a great white shark swimming between two surfers. And they all he just swam between them and then went on, and they were on their surfboards. And my story is that they were so in space and so in harmony with the ocean that they didn't draw the attention of any predator. So imagine if your attention were so spacious and inviting that you can have all kinds of dangers and threats just move alongside of you and pass you by, and you're continuing to enjoy the circulation of love and attention and presence. So let yourself notice if there are any more qualities of the love scoops that you want to include in your practice. So you can make it bigger and more vigorous, or you could make it tinier and more precise. So you could do even just a little love scoop with your face. You could just be, You know, I was just realizing I hardly ever touch my face unless I'm doing something to my face, like brushing my teeth or cleaning my face. But what if you were just giving attention to your face? So I'm feeling that there's just a little bit of tension under here. So I'm going to just give that a little patting. And expanding my jellyfish out, and then, So throughout the week, this week, I want to invite you to let yourself breathe and attend between the dense places and the spacious places in you with breath and sound. And you can be then a source of presence wherever you show up in the world. And I think that's extremely cool. Yeah, it's a gift we can give to everybody, and it gives a gift to us. So thank you so much for being with us today. And I look forward to seeing you next week, which I do plan to do, even though it's Thanksgiving week here in the States next week. But we're going to start it out with being thankful for each other. So thank you for being here. And I love sharing this time with you. So I'm going to go ahead and leave, and you're welcome to stay and play as long as you like. Mwah.